Hello, friends, and welcome to Sleep Tight Stories. Every week, we celebrate our supporters through shoutouts and personal birthday messages. We think this is also a fun way for us to hear about all the amazing places that you, our listeners, come from. I'd like to say hello to Sloan. Congratulations on graduating kindergarten. Mommy and Daddy are so proud of you. Happy belated birthday to Noah in Mill River, Prince Edward Island, from Mom, Dad, and Luke. They love you so much and are very proud of you. Happy belated 7th birthday to Stevie from Red Lodge, Montana on June 23rd, from Mommy, Dada, Teddy, and Norm. They love you so much, little birdie. Happy belated 10th birthday to Esme from the French Alps on July 1st, from Mommy, Daddy, Amelie, and Taz. Happy belated birthday to Greta, who turned 7 on July 1st. You are so special and your family and friends love you so much. Happy belated birthday to Emma Tully in Waukesha, Wisconsin on July 2nd. Happy belated birthday to Oscar from Canberra, Australia, who turned 7 on July 5th. Mom, Dad, and Parker hope you had a fantastic day. Happy belated birthday to Jasper in Dalton, Georgia, who turned 8 on July 6th and just got his orange belt in Taekwondo. Your family is very proud of you. Happy belated birthday to Fiona in Castle Rock, Colorado, who turned 7 on July 6th. Love Mommy, Daddy, and Christopher. They love your spunky personality. And happy belated birthday to Vanessa from Cape Cod, Massachusetts, who turned 10 on July 7th. Mommy and Daddy are so proud of you for getting through this difficult school year with great success and love you so much. Happy 7th birthday to Jaden from Houston, Texas. Mom, Dad, and Jolie love you and think you are kind, funny, and smart. Happy birthday to Olivia on July 9th. Happy birthday to George in St. Louis, turning 3 on July 9th, with love from Gigi and Papa. Happy 4th birthday to Lennox. Rai, Mommy, and Daddy love you so much and think you are kind, brave, and smart. Happy birthday to Nora Parsons from Massachusetts. Dream of Pluto, love Mommy. Happy 9th birthday to Quinn Torini from Massachusetts. Mom, Dad, and Zach love you. Happy 6th birthday to Gigi on July 11th. Love Mommy, Daddy, Gavin, Cotton, and Bixby. And happy 6th birthday to Maya J., who was born in New York City on July 13th. Mama, Daddy, Tiggy, and Buddy love you so much. Happy birthday to you all. To reserve your special shout-out, please visit sleeptightstories.org/support. We can't wait to celebrate with you. Now, on to our story. Solomon Owl has decided to take Aunt Polly Woodchuck's advice and try to get a chick to eat. But when he arrives at Farmer Green's henhouse, there is a problem that he, Fatty Raccoon, and Tommy Fox cannot solve. All of them chat about the best way to get what they want and even ask Jimmy Rabbit for help. The Tale of Solomon Owl, Part 3. Solomon Owl and Fatty Raccoon couldn't help laughing at what Tommy Fox said to them as they sat in their tree near the farmhouse, looking down at him in the moonlight. "I'm here to watch Farmer Green's chickens for him," he said, "to see that no rat, or anyone else, runs away with a chick." Farmer Green has someone else watching for him tonight," said Solomon Owl when he had stopped laughing. "There's that strange man. You can see how he keeps his glaring eyes fixed on the chicken house. And unless I'm mistaken, he's on the lookout for you." "No such thing," Tommy Fox snapped, and he looked up at Solomon as if he wished that he could climb the tree. "Here comes somebody else," Fatty Raccoon exclaimed suddenly. His keen eyes had caught sight of Jimmy Rabbit, hopping along on his way to the vegetable garden to see if he couldn't find a stray cabbage or turnip. Solomon Owl called to him. Jimmy Rabbit promptly sat up and looked at the odd trio. If it hadn't been for Tommy Fox, he would have drawn nearer. "Do you know that stranger?" Solomon Owl asked him, pointing out the horrible head to Jimmy. "I haven't had the pleasure," said Jimmy Rabbit, after he had taken a good look. "Well," said Solomon, "won't you kindly speak to him and ask him to go away?" "Certainly," answered Jimmy Rabbit, who always tried to be helpful. "I hope the stranger won't eat him," remarked Tommy Fox, "because I hope to do that someday myself." It was strange, but Jimmy Rabbit was the only one of the four that wasn't afraid of those glaring eyes. He hopped straight up to the big round head, which was just a bit higher than one of the fence posts, against which the stranger seemed to be leaning. And after a moment or two, Jimmy Rabbit called to Solomon and Fatty and Tommy Fox. "He won't go away. He's going to stay right where he is." "Come here a minute," said Tommy. Jimmy Rabbit shook his head. "You come over here," he answered. And he did not stir from the side of the stranger. He knew very well that Tommy Fox was afraid of the man with the head with the glaring eyes. As for Tommy Fox, he did not even reply, that is to Jimmy Rabbit. But he spoke his mind freely enough to his two friends in the tree. "It seems to me one of you ought to do something," he said. "We'll get no chicks tonight if we can't get rid of this meddlesome stranger." Fatty Raccoon agreed with him. "The one who was here first is the one to act," Fatty declared. "That's you," he told Solomon Owl. So Solomon Owl felt most uncomfortable. "I don't know what I can do," he said. "I spoke to the stranger, asked him who he was, and he wouldn't answer me." "Can't you frighten him away?" Tommy Fox inquired. "Fly right over his head and give him a tap with your wing as you pass." Solomon Owl coughed. He was embarrassed, to say the least. "He's afraid," Fatty Raccoon cried. It was really more than Solomon Owl could stand. "I'm not," he replied angrily. "Watch me and you'll see." And without another word, he darted out of the tree and swooped down upon the stranger, just brushing the top of his head. Solomon Owl knew at once that he had knocked something off the top of that dreadful head, something that fell to the ground and made Jimmy Rabbit jump nervously. Then Solomon returned to his perch in the tree. "He hasn't moved," he said, "but I knocked off his hat." "You took off the top of his head," cried Fatty Raccoon in great excitement. "Look, the inside of his head is afire." And peering down from the treetop, Solomon Owl saw that Fatty Raccoon had told the truth. Solomon Owl was afraid of fire, and when he looked down from his perch in the tree and saw through the hole in the stranger's crown that all was aglow inside his big round head, Solomon couldn't help voicing his fear. He hoo-hooed so loudly that Tommy Fox, at the foot of the tree, asked him what on earth was the matter. "His head is on fire," Solomon Owl told him. "That's what makes his eyes glare. and that's why the fire shines through his mouth and his nose, too. It's no wonder he didn't answer my question. Then it ought to be safe for anybody to enter the chicken house, Tommy Fox observed. What could the stranger do when he is in such a state? He could set the chicken house afire if he followed you inside, replied Solomon Owl wisely. And I, for one, am not going near the chicks tonight. Nor I, Fatty Raccoon echoed. I'm going straight to the cornfield. The corn is still standing there in shocks, and I ought to find enough ears to make a great meal. But Solomon Owl and Tommy Fox were not interested in corn. They never ate it. And so it is not surprising that they should be greatly disappointed. After a person has his mouth all made up for chicken, it is hard to think of anything that would taste even half as good. It's strange he doesn't go and hold his head under the pump, said Solomon Owl. That's what I would do if I were him. Jimmy Rabbit had better not go too near him or he'll get singed, said Tommy Fox anxiously, and I don't want anything to happen to him. Jimmy Rabbit is very careless, Solomon declared. I don't see what he's thinking of, going near a fire. It makes me altogether too nervous to stay here. I'm going away at once. Tommy Fox said that he felt the same way. And the moment Fatty Raccoon, with his sharp claws, started to crawl down the tree on his way to the cornfield, Tommy Fox hurried off without even stopping to say goodbye. Ha 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 hoo, laughed Solomon Owl. Tommy Fox is afraid of you, he told Fatty Raccoon. But Fatty didn't seem to hear him. He was thinking only of the supper of corn that he was going to have. Better come away, Solomon Owl called to Jimmy Rabbit, turning his head toward the fence where Jimmy had been lingering near the hot-headed stranger. But Jimmy Rabbit didn't answer him either. He was no longer there. The moment he had seen Tommy Fox bounding off across the meadow, Jimmy had started at once for Farmer Green's vegetable garden. So Solomon Owl was the last to leave. And they never realized it was a jack-o'-lantern that scared them away. There's really nothing else I can do, he remarked to himself. I don't know what Aunt Polly Woodchuck would say if she knew that I didn't follow her advice tonight and have a chick for my supper. But I've tried my best, and that's all anybody can do. Solomon Owl was upset all the rest of that night, and just before daybreak he visited the farmyard again to see whether the strange man with the flaring head still watched the chicken house. And Solomon found that he had vanished. So Solomon Owl landed on the fence. There was nothing there except a hollowed-out pumpkin with a few holes cut in it, which someone had left on one of the fence posts. Good, he said. Maybe I can get my chick after all. He turned to fly to the chicken house, but just then the woodshed door opened again, and Farmer Green stepped outside with a lantern in his hand. He was going to the barn to milk the cows, but Solomon Owl did not wait to learn anything more. He hurried away to his house among the hemlocks, and having quickly settled himself for a good nap, he was soon fast asleep. Solomon Owl had pains, sharp pains, underneath his waistcoat, and not knowing what else to do, he set off at once for Aunt Polly Woodchuck's house under the hill in the pasture, which he had not visited since the previous fall. Luckily, he found the old lady at home, and quickly he told her of his trouble. "What have you been eating?" she asked. "I've followed your advice. I've been eating chickens," he said, "very small chickens, because they were all I could get." Aunt Polly Woodchuck, who was an herb doctor, and a good one, regarded him through her glasses. "I'm afraid," she said, "you don't chew your food properly. Bolting one's food is very harmful. It's as bad as not eating anything at all. Almost." Solomon Owl showed plainly that her remarks surprised him. "Why," he exclaimed, "I always swallow my food whole when it isn't too big." "Gracious me!" cried Aunt Polly, throwing up both her hands. "It's no wonder you're ill. It's no wonder you have pains, and now I know exactly what's the matter with you. You have a wishbone inside you. I can feel it," she told him as she prodded him in the waistcoat. "I wish you could get it out for me," said Solomon with a look of distress. "All the wishing in the world won't help you," she answered, "unless we can find some way of removing the wishbone so you can wish on that. Then I'm sure you would feel better at once." "This is strange," Solomon mused. "All my life I've been swallowing my food without chewing it, and it has never given me any trouble before. What shall I do?" "Don't eat anything for a week," she directed, "and fly against tree trunks as hard as you can. Then come back here after 7 days." Solomon Owl went off in a most unhappy frame of mind. It seemed to him that he had never seen so many mice and frog and chipmunks as he came across during the following week. But he didn't dare catch a single one on account of what Aunt Polly Woodchuck had said. His pains, however, grew less from day to day, at least the pains that had first troubled him. But he had others to take their place. Hunger pangs these were, and they were almost as bad as those that had sent him hurrying to see Aunt Polly Woodchuck. On the whole, Solomon passed a very unhappy week. Flying headfirst into tree trunks, as Aunt Polly had instructed him to do, gave him many bumps and bruises. So he was glad when the time came for him to return to her house in the pasture. Solomon's neighbors had been so interested in watching him that they were all sorry when he stopped his strange actions. Indeed, there was a rumor that Solomon had become very angry with Farmer Green and that he was trying to knock down some of Farmer Green's trees. Before the end of that unpleasant week, Solomon had often noticed as many as 24 of the forest folk following him around, hoping to see a tree fall. But they were all disappointed. However, they enjoyed the sight of Solomon hurling himself against tree trunks, and the louder he groaned, the more people gathered around him. And that is the end of this part. Good night. Sleep tight.